What's up, guys? Welcome back to another HERR Lounge podcast. We have two guests today. We have my co-host, Marissa.
So I'm not a guest. Don't
Oh, yeah,
insult me.
she's my co-host, not my guest. My thing always says guest on my post.
It's all right.
It says guest, Marissa.
I'm not offended.
And her cousin. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Harry, and I'm Marissa's cousin. Yes.
They were like, why is Marissa's cousin? This is going to get real crazy. Everybody's probably already nervous, like, what's going to happen? Before we get started, guys.
All of our trauma is going to be out on the table. Because I told him, I said, look, it's Gay Pride Month. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. Which one you want to talk about? Your gayness? You want to talk about your gayness? You want to talk about your PTSD, bitch? PTSD, bitch. Which one? He said, first of all, it's Pride Month, you jackass.
No, I said you uneducated clown.
Yeah.
Right.
Same.
Yeah.
Before we get started, just a few announcements. This Sunday, we'll have our Hot Girl Summer Boot Camp at the FATSA 7 Edo. So you guys come out and join us. There's still slots available. So that'll be great. I can't wait to meet everybody. And the HERR Athletics
It's going to drop.
It's going to drop that same day. So I'm really excited. And then we have our live podcast on June 16th at the Juice Caboose. So we're excited about that. And just real quick, shout out to all these sponsors to Taking It Overboard, Jackson's Brew, Happy Cakes and More,
Girl,
the
that
Juice
cake
Caboose.
looks
I know, I can't wait.
fantastic.
And I still need to reach out to Rob's friend who's making our cookies.
Yeah.
And I have not.
Damn shame.
I know.
You better hurry up, girl.
I know,
It's almost around the corner.
I know it is. And you know, we're halfway full.
What?
I know. And people, it's still not getting to people because I just got someone telling me that they love listening to our podcast while they work out.
Okay.
And they're like, I'm like, well, if you're in Houston, come to our live podcast. They're like, what? No way. So algorithms is
They really suppress some of those posts because you can tell my soul will get like thousands of likes on a picture, and then like she promotes something and it gets like hundreds versus thousands.
Not even. It's like 33, I think is what that post got.
Yeah, my soul's definitely shadow banned from time
I'm
to
like,
time.
man.
Yeah, she talks about biting too much.
Talks about the world too much. We got to talk about babies and moms and working out.
Yeah, I know. So
all that fun stuff.
I know. And today's quote, I just because we're going to be talking about PTSD, and it actually is mental health awareness month. Excuse me, and also PTSD Day happens in June. Not sure if you knew that, but
I didn't.
Yeah. So.
I didn't either.
So,
oh, you're celebrated.
Oh, thank you.
well, it's to bring awareness. It's like for people who, because it's such a thing that people don't like to talk about, and they like to like just sweep it under the rug, and it's like, it's not important. Let's not talk about it. And I just thought that we should talk about it. And I thought that, I was like, Marissa, I don't know anybody. I was like, do you know anybody? She's like, yep, I sure do. Let me call my cousin.
Up, girl.
So I wanted to start off with
thinking about me immediately when she asked about that.
You're welcome.
I want to start off with this quote. And so it says, give yourself permission to unplug and regroup without feeling guilty. You can't be there for others if you don't take care of yourself first. So I think that's really important for us to take care of ourselves. Because if your mental health ain't right, then you're probably not going to be right with others. So to kick it off, I just want to tell us a little bit about yourself. So you were in the military still, correct?
Or how did it start? I think it started with like, what is that shit in high school that y'all do?
ROTC?
All the way back to like the beginning of like conception and stuff.
I don't know. I don't know if you want to
understand how that works.
I don't know if you want to go that far back.
Hey, calm down.
This is a PG show.
He's got 2 kids, okay? He knows what's up.
So how long have you been in the military now?
So I was spent 11 years active duty. I got commissioned in 2006. You're making me remember dates and times now. I got commissioned in 2006 after graduating from A&M, joined the Marine Corps.
But you were a cadet at A&M, right?
I was, yeah. So if you want to take it all the way back, I was a nerd, and I was in JROTC in high school. From the time I was 5, I knew that I wanted to join the military. I knew that I wanted to go fly planes. I saw Top Gun, and I was like, yeah, that's me. I want that. I want that in my life. I want Kelly McGillis all over me, all of it.
All day, every day.
Yeah. And then, I found a path, and I said, this is what I need to do to get there. And I just kind of drove myself to that point. And then,
did being in a cadet at A&M count as time in the military, or does
it gives you a rank, right?
No. Not really, right? Graduating from college and then commissioning gives you a rank.
So you're already an officer when you come out of college.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a
Yeah.
prereq, right? To become an officer in the military, you have to have gone through college and then graduate. But going through A&M, it didn't really do anything specifically that was going to like set me up for success, if you will. I mean, there were some intangible benefits that kind of came out of it, but not necessarily something that was, oh, this is going to be the thing that sets you apart from your peers or something like that. In the military, a lot of people actually make fun of us for going to A&M and like participating. They're like, oh, you're like the fake military academy. You're not like real.
They were so cute. I went to A&M my first 2 years in college, so I was out there. My girlfriend's husband actually graduated, and he was a
Cadet.
cadet. Okay. And so no, you might know him because y'all are about the same age. So
Probably. I mean, it's a super small world, and you end up knowing more and more people, and then you get older, or you know someone who knew them.
And he's still in the military. He's in the Navy, but
Yeah.
they're stationed out in now in Germany, but they were in Spain.
Oh,
so he's in
nice.
Germany
Yeah,
now.
Rosa.
Yeah.
And then, okay. Yeah. So then after graduating, got sent to a bunch of different schools. Ended up obviously going into aviation because that was my passion. Went to flight school, then got selected to fly the EA-6B Prowler, which has since been retired, which makes me feel super old. When an aircraft that you flew in is now like sitting in a museum.
Damn.
That's crazy.
It puts mortality in perspective real quick for you. And then, did some stuff out there with that. Got out of the military in 2017, stayed in the reserves because, service is a passion for me. And then after that, it was just figuring out what I want to do on the outside now that I was like a grown up, whatever that really means.
But you go back and you teach flight school every so often, right?
So I did, right?
Oh, okay.
The pandemic, that along with some other things kind of put a stop to it. So now I'm a Joint Terminal Attack Controller, JTAC, essentially the guy who calls in the airstrikes on the ground. So like when you're playing Call of Duty.
I was going to say, do you
That's
play Call of
dope,
Duty?
yeah.
Yeah, so that's the easiest way to equate it.
You
to a
didn't
lot
tell
of
people you were a Marine.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, talk about the Navy, and you're like,
Well, I mean, to me, it
there's no difference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're a veteran and you can exit the service, I'm proud to be a Marine and I'm proud of all those things. I'm proud of that lineage and that heritage. But at the same time, it's like, I also tried not to let that be the sole defining factor for who I am and what I do. It's just something that I'm proud of and that I kind of carry with me. But I try not to be the prototypical bro vet who's just like, I'm a Marine, like get all upset when people are like, you're a soldier. It's like, no, I was in the Marine Corps. But I don't really get upset about it. I had friends that when we were in Florida and I was stationed there, she didn't know that I was in the military the entire time that I knew her.
What?
We went
That's
out, we were having
crazy.
drinks with some other people, and she's like, how do you know him? And I'm like, she's like, oh, we're in flight school together. And she's like, you're in flight school? And I was just like, yeah. And she's like, well, are you in the Air Force? I was like, no. She's like, in the Navy. I was like, no. And she's like, well, how are you in I was like, in the Marine Corps. She's
He doesn't
like,
talk
no.
much.
No.
Don't all men just kind of like not talk much? Well, except for Rob. Rob's pretty good chatter.
You know, got to get the gab. Got to get in where you fit in.
Yeah, there you go.
When did this all start for you? Like when you realized, did you come back from a war?
Oh, so when did you? When was
you
the first time you were sent to?
So my first combat deployment was 2011. We went to Afghanistan, and so we're stationed out there. And then I think.
And how
coming
long
back
were
from
you
that-
there?
Well, I was there from April to November of 2011. So, some people are like, I see you raise your eyebrow, and it's like a lot of time. And then there's other people that were doing 18-month deployments.
Yeah.
Coming home for 2 weeks, in between that. And it's one of those things. I think anytime you go to those places, it's going to change you. It's going to just make you, appreciate things differently, right? Like I got home, and one of the first things I wanted to do is like take off my shoes and like rub my feet in grass because you have to have, you're always wearing clothes and all that
boots,
stuff.
yeah.
And then it's pretty much a desert, and there's
Yeah.
rocks everywhere, and you're just like, oh, this is gross. I miss
Yeah.
grass. I miss normal things. But yeah, coming back from that place,
So what was it like?
it's everything that you think of, and that you see in the movies, and you're just like, oh, this is very much, what it is. Like there's a scene in Lone Survivor where they're like in their rooms or whatever, and I'm like, oh, those are the same kind of rooms that I had, stuff like that. So it's a lot of that stuff. I think the thing that the movies don't capture, besides like some authenticity, is the smells, right? Like those, when you think about your memories and like how they're made up, it's not necessarily like you memorizing something exactly the way it is. It's like smells that'll bring you back, or something that you see visually.
I can see the smells.
Like
it happens for all of us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the thing that is one of the things that's probably like the most of it is like smells or like different things that sights and sounds and stuff like that. Like I remember being on phone calls with my wife and then talking to her, and then like a jet would take off, and it's a small base, so like you can hear it all the way around. And I'd be like, hey, hold on. And so she wants to start talking, and I'm like, no, wait, there's another one. Okay, now we can continue the conversation. So it's just, different things like that.
So what was your job there when you were there? Like, what was your thing?
So I flew in the Prowler, and we had a specific mission that we supported the troops on the ground with. So every day, day and night, we had just different times. So I'd work some of the daytimes and some of the night times to go and support guys who are doing various things on the ground to kind of take the fight to the enemy. But
so when you say support, you mean like gunfire?
No, we were actually a non-kinetic platform.
Okay.
We have the ability to shoot like a missile, but not in that particular environment. So we're bringing a lot of non-kinetic impacts to the.
So you're just kind of hovering to make sure that.
We were in a helicopter, but no, we were.
Well, I don't know what you're.
It's so funny that like.
I don't know any of this shit.
Well, no one.
Well, yeah,
really
because
does,
we don't ever talk about it.
Well, I picture movie. Everything that I think of war, I picture movie because that's the only thing I can compare. I don't know.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? The only thing I remember is a girlfriend of mine, when she got out of the Army, I remember we were having a crawfish boil, and this was her first time out of the military. So she decided she was going to, she did do reserve. She is in reserves. I'm sorry, in the reserves. But I remember she saying she was so pissed. She's like, I can't stand you civilians. I was like, what the I'm just like eating crawfish, like, and I'm like
sucking on the fingers.
Yeah, exactly.
And making sure you get the last.
Like, what is your problem? And she's like, y'all are so ungrateful, and you don't appreciate anything. If y'all only would see half the shit that we see, and I'm just like, okay, well, that's probably the reason I didn't choose to go to the military, because I don't want to see that. There's people who are like you knew from a child that's what you wanted to do. Then there's some that are like, hell no, I'm not doing that shit.
Has there ever been a time where people have been more ungrateful than right now, it seems like, to be free in the United States?
Oh my God.
I think it's just about perspective, right? I've had the opportunity to see a lot of different things, and I've talked about this with Marissa before. Like, she brought up something to somebody, and I was like, hey, you need to think about this because there's a different perspective, right? It's not all about like what you see and how you view the world, right? You have to change your lens. One of the things I've always been taught is for like conflict management and resolution is seek understanding first, and that's the thing that I think that we need to work towards as individuals, as humans, as a country, is like seek that understanding first to identify what the problem is, and then like how can we resolve that? And
and I think way too much we don't try to put ourselves in the other person's shoes.
Facts,
Yeah.
We just look at everything from our perspective, like, well, this is where I grew up and I did this and I accomplished this, or I don't understand. You're one individual. There's no way you can understand what another person goes through and what their life is like. And I think that's kind of what we're missing.
And no one's problems are as big to them as they are to anybody else, right?
Yeah.
And I always try and explain it to my wife. I'm like, whatever problems your boss is going through, like that's their biggest challenge. And that's the thing that's like right in front of their face, eating up all their bandwidth right now. So you have to look at it from that perspective of, hey, this is what they're going through. So they're not really concerned about like everything that's going on in your life. And taking the time to think about, like, there's a story behind everyone. Everyone has a story. Everyone's got this thing that's going on, and you don't necessarily see all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes.
Sure,
Giving those people the opportunity to kind of like understand what's going on behind. It's really important.
Whenever you experienced being out there and you first came home, besides wanting to touch grass, what was one of the things
or smoke grass?
Yeah. What was one of the first things you just kind of like looked around and were like, I'm so glad I'm not there right now. Like just around in general, like people, just
everything,
food,
sure.
Everything. Like what was it for you when you came back? Was that your first time you ever got?
Yeah, that was my first deployment, and it was, to Afghanistan. But coming back, I'm trying to put myself back in that situation, and it was, I don't know, you just kind of get back and then you kind of roll right back into things. The military has tried to do this thing where they're like, you come home, and it's a very strange thing. We had at least a little bit of a delay. It's like almost like a week to get back home from what we're doing because we're flying the planes back, and there's all these rules about like so many time zones you can cross before you can get back in the plane and fly because they don't want you to be, all messed up. And so coming back there, you spend time, you go back to work, and they have this post-deployment kind of like decompression time, and they're like, hey, come in, and someone will come in and talk to you about stuff, and they're like, does anybody want to talk to anybody? And everyone's just like, cool, I just want to get through this so that way I can go like home and go do normal stuff because I'm tired of seeing everybody's face. I saw your face for the last 9 months every day, and I just want to go be with my family or go be with whatever. So coming home from that first deployment, there wasn't anything, I didn't notice anything that was necessarily different. I know now, looking back at it, that there's definitely changes and that there's differences and just different way that I kind of approached it. But I was always trying to guard against some of those things because I didn't necessarily want to be the statistic, or I didn't want to be the stereotypical person of like, ooh, watch out for him. He's got this thing. Like, I think one of the weird things is at first because you walk around with a weapon all the time and then coming home and not having that and like being deathly afraid of like not having the weapon on you not because I like felt like I needed it for protection, but because if you lose it, it's a big deal. People are going to yell at you, or someone's going to take it and disassemble it and put pieces in the freezer, and you got to go fucking deal with all that problem later. Because we like to play jokes on each other in the squadron, and so that was kind of the thing that was like coming home is like getting back to like normal things. We'd just moved from a house, so when I left, we just purchased a house in North Carolina, and then coming back, and I'm literally asking my wife, I'm like, hey, which cabinet are the cups in? And she's like, it's over there. Where is this? Like just random normal things that everyone kind of takes for granted. And then you come back, and I think a lot of things that people don't recognize or see is the spouses and all the work that they do back at home. And then you kind of, because when we leave, we basically press pause on our life. Everything else keeps going on back home, and then you get home, and then you have to catch back up to everything. It's a lot harder for people with kids. We didn't have kids at the time. And, you just reintegrate yourself into their existence. And for her, she's like, this is my world. And you're reintegrating into it. So like, I need you to figure out what I'm doing and not necessarily just be like, this is how we do things. Like I've never been super machismo, but, getting home, I'm just like, what the fuck? This is a new house. Like, we didn't have that when I left. What is this? She'd bought all new furniture and stuff like that because it was our first house. Yeah. And so, we graduated from our Walmart IKEA furniture that we had in college, finally got rid of that stuff, and then we bought grown-up adult furniture, and it was, just little things like that. But to go back to your question about like recognizing those things that were impactful as far as what was going on, there was a specific incident that happened that I was over there that I was a part of, and being a part of that it's changed me and it's altered who I am.
Well, what was the...
So August 6th, 2011, the War Dog province, I was supporting a mission with a bunch of guys. They were going in to go get a high-value target. They go in, they grab those guys. I feel like, for what I can talk about, so I feel like they had the situation pretty well underhand. They called in backup to go after some other people that had kind of like gotten away from them. And then when they called in that backup, that's when those guys come in on a helicopter from a nearby base. They ended up getting shot down, and it was the largest loss of life.
How many?
In the war, 31 people.
Oh,
Americans?
Yeah, so there had Americans as well as Afghan commandos on there. It was the whole air crew was lost, so that's like 4 Army guys, a bunch of Navy SEALs, a bunch of Afghan commandos, a bunch of Air Force AFSOC guys, Air Force Special Operations. And, normally, like, there's all these things that kind of go into it, and normally when I'm in those situations, flying around supporting those guys, like, I don't pay particularly a lot of attention because we do things on the front end and we do things on the back end. So basically when they're coming in and leaving. And so like when they have another group coming in midway, that's where it was like, oh, well, this is different, but, I'm kind of going to, they're busy and I'm recognizing that they have a lot of things going on. So I'm going to let them do whatever they need to do. I took it as one of the things where I miss an opportunity to interject myself and offer them kind of what we do as a support. And that was the thing that's kind of stuck with me the most, and the thing that I deal with on a day-to-day basis of like, how did my actions that day impact the lives of literally hundreds of other people, because like these guys were brothers, fathers, sons, uncles, friends, and they were gone, right? And so like working through how that all went down and all that other stuff, that was kind of the thing that has been what I deal with the most, right? After all of that. And that one I think is just because it's one of the more impactful things. But I mean, I can think back to like tons of different things that happened during that deployment. September 11th, there was, for whatever reason, the Afghans.
Was that first deployment? How many deployments have you been on?
Two.
Or was that the second deployment when that happened?
That was the first one.
Okay.
And so like, it was weird. The Afghans always took like whatever holiday we had and they're like, hey, we're going to bomb you guys.
On that holiday?
It was you knew it was
But you
happen.
knew it was coming.
Yeah. So like, I was there for 4th of July. Guess what? Rocket attacks. And, they do their thing and then they go away. But September 11th, they took that as like a real personal note to like bring it to us that day. And so it's just like constant rocket attacks. But our part of the base, like where we're at, the hangar, was right next to the hospital. And so one of the helicopters comes in and it's just like the movies. I think it's like a scene in like Black Hawk Down where they're like, hey, get all that stuff out of the truck, fill it back up with ammunition. They got to go support the guys that are out there. And like the helicopter comes in, offloads all these bodies. They like spray it down. You just watch all the blood flow out, and then they load it back up with ammunition and water, and it flies right back out. And I was like, that's when it hit me. I was like, oh, this is just like the movie, only that's real life, and that's somebody's blood. That guy who just got wheeled in on that gurney, that's someone's son. That's someone that cares about, that someone at home cares about deeply, and now their whole world is going to be completely flipped upside down. So seeing those things, and then coming home with that stuff, and then just trying to flip the switch and be like, okay, now I'm
back
Harry.
To normal. Yeah.
I need to figure out where the cups are in the cabinet. That was, that's just kind of how I dealt with it. And I kind of put it in a box and I said, see you later. I will talk to you never. And then kind of go on about your life.
Mm-hmm.
How do you put furniture together after that?
What do you mean?
How do you put any furniture together at home after you come back from experience like that and just kind of go back to it?
How do I put furniture back?
Yeah, how do you just go about your normal?
You just kind of do, and you just
strong-willed.
Yeah, because we all know that. Hey, at some point we've seen. Because I was the only one that watched that, right? Because we got in rocket attacks, so we're all kind of like chilling out in a bunker outside. And
hey, quiet over there.
Yeah, easy.
She has water.
And
went down the wrong way.
So I'm not the only one that watched it. I'm not the only one who saw it. But it's just my personal lens on it, right? And even still that there's other people that saw it and there are other people that are around there, like my view is going to be different than your view, that's going to be different than you, that's going to be different than you. And like
you all internalize it differently.
Yeah, your experiences are all different, right? Going through college, I didn't graduate till 2006, so there was guys who had gone, fought in Iraq in the march up and like had participated in a lot of stuff and then come back. And like there was a Marine, I asked him, I said, hey, how did you deal with seeing, like dead bodies in the street and like, guys were already blowing themselves up with suicide vests and like all the stuff that you see with that. I was like, how did you deal with that? He was like, you just kind of compartmentalize it, move on, to make sure your Marines are doing okay and then come back and like, you can figure it out later. And I was like, okay, well, I grew up in the north side, me and Marissa.
In a fucked up childhood.
Me and Marissa got guns pointed at us when we were kids, which is a great story. And, just all sorts of stuff. I was just like, I've seen dead bodies. I've seen people get hit with drive-bys. I was just like, this is going to be nothing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I can handle this. Yeah.
So you were desensitized at an early age.
Yeah. So that's
and not only just environmental, but literally our families fucked up. So you have to know how to. There's no kind of like the way you grew up was like get over it.
So the best way to
suck it up
our families
and get over it
is, which is why I always love talking with Marissa, is we basically get together at family holidays and we re-experience your worst life experience.
Damn, Marissa, I came with this.
But I don't do holidays anymore. That's why I said, you know what, I'm done with this. But it was like that. Like, well, I'm not talking about like our holidays when we finally just kind of did our own holiday.
Right.
But the old holidays where you have to like be around all these people that you kind of don't want to be around and you're constantly dealing with everybody else's fucking issues in some way or another. You just kind of learn, right? To compartmentalize everything.
I thought that I had a lot of coping mechanisms built in, right? So like I lost my brother when I was 7. He, passed away of a heart attack. I watched,
And he
the
was
EMTs.
16?
Yeah, he was 2 weeks away from being
wow.
17.
Wow.
So I watched the EMTs work on him, try and bring him back. Spent a week in the hospital. You see that at 7. I'd seen a drive-by shooting where like I watched a mom get murdered on Mother's Day.
At my
Pretty sure it was
house.
Mother's Day.
It was Mother's Day.
I'm just like, this is like, war is not going to be a challenge for me, but it just changes you in ways that you can't really be prepared for or understand, because I think when you see that kind of trauma at a young age, you see it in a different lens, and there's a different understanding and different framework around it than when you see it as an older adult with the ability to understand and really grasp and conceptualize all the things that are going on.
Because at 7, you're probably still kind of like not understanding 100% what's really happening. You're kind of still trying to process it. I think at 7, like, okay, I get
Like,
it.
what is
It's a
that?
What is
lifetime
that?
of
Exactly.
How
processing.
permanent is permanent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't understand. I mean, you've been around the universe for 7 years
Yeah.
at that point, so understanding the depth of mortality and like really grasping how that works, you don't have an appreciation for it at
Yeah.
7. So
Are you guys just not like y'all just whenever you come back from something like that, is it like you said, you just kind of say, hey, hold on, I'm not fucking with you right now. Like, I'm not going to deal with that situation. I'm home now. It's time for me to be with my family. It's time for me to enjoy my home, be here and relax. At what point does anybody, like, between you guys, even kind of like, man, was that not fucked up? Like, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where you call a friend, like sometimes we'll see something and be like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, and you kind of talk about, I think us females, we do it more so to each other, where we're like, can you believe this happened? And in the military, because it's so much and it's continuing, you're going to war, you're coming back. It's so repetitive. It's like, at what point do you really deal with it? Is it when you're sitting at home and all of a sudden you see something on TV, you're watching something else and it just kind of something triggers and you're like, shit, like, you know what I'm saying?
I think it's different for everybody. So, I mean, like I was in a squadron with females. There was a female air crew member that was with me in the plane, so it was like me, her, and another individual, and they're sitting in the plane. And like me and her would kind of like talk about it. Like we had I can't remember what it's called, but basically the ceremony where they load up the planes and they're shipping the bodies back home. And, to watch basically every SEAL in country be at that ceremony, that was probably one of the largest ones that I'd seen. I never went to one before, but I was like, this one kind of hit me personally. So I was like, I'm going to go. And it was just like one of those sobering moments, like when we got back to our area where we kind of hang out. And I was just like, what the fuck? I was like, what's going on? Like, I think I ended up calling my wife and I was like, hey, there's something that went down. You need to watch the news. Like, shit's getting real.
Yeah, because that was on the news.
Yeah. Well, because it was a big deal. It was the largest loss of life that we'd had in the war to date. And like, to what you're talking about, like, do you ever get back and something like, boom, hits it for you? Like, a lot of people talk about, like, I don't like fireworks or whatever. And it's like, that didn't bother me. Like, all that stuff wasn't the thing that hit it for me. It was like years later, they came out with the movie Lone Survivor. And in that movie, the largest loss of life prior to that incident was in that one. And it was the same situation. They got these guys go and, grab Marcus Luttrell and Mike Murphy and all those guys. And when they go in there, they get shot down with a helicopter.
Yeah.
And so, like, watching that, like, it, like, boom, took me right back, right? Like, memories aren't
That was hard
something.
to watch,
Yeah.
What?
that movie.
I read the book first.
I only watched it because the trial was on Rogan.
Oh yeah, I was about to say
Did you
that
watch
episode
it?
was awesome.
Did you watch it? His
Yeah, I've
interview?
read the book and I watched the movie.
His
Account?
description
Yeah.
or his account was a lot, and that's why I even decided that I was gonna watch it, because of the things. But the way he would like give this detail, and then it's like you could almost see him kind of go step back, and then he'd have to like snap out of it. It was intense. Just his description.
Yeah, usually when I talk about it, it's kind of almost like a surgical, like just explaining it. And then you do kind of get like, because you can't see what I'm seeing in my brain, obviously,
Yeah.
right? The memories that I have and like the visualizations that I kind of just carry with me. So that's what is replaying in your brain, is all that stuff. Where everyone else is, I just see, 3 sets of eyeballs staring at me going, like,
Yeah.
what is this guy talking about? Is he going to snap or give me a
Yeah.
word? And, it's... one of those things where, yeah, you talk about it and then like you can come back out of it and stuff like that.
So what you experienced was the second largest loss of life?
No, it's the largest loss of life
at all
in Afghanistan to date that I know of. Yeah.
Okay.
My friend who I guess earned a Purple Heart, was a Marine sniper. And, I think for him, what was the worst part was that he no longer could be his job, and just being behind a desk was not going to cut it for him, right? Like he just couldn't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where, I'm not saying what he experienced out there wasn't what affected him. I think the fact that he wasn't going to be able to do what he always wanted to do was what affected him the most. It was a different person for me. Like I couldn't even really talk to him because it was like so much bitterness, and he was just mad, and just everything. And we went out to dinner, and I remember he was dating this one girl, and he can't keep a relationship. He's finally married now. I haven't kept up with him in a little bit. He finally was able to get married, but the girl that he was with at the time, she said it's been really hard, that she had caught him underneath the table with a gun, and trying to wake him up was like the scariest thing ever. Yeah. But he was like at combat, and she didn't know what to do. She didn't know if to call the cops. She didn't know who to call because she didn't know how to wake him up out of this thing. And she's like, and plus he had a gun. So what if he thought in his dream I was this person, mm-hmm. and, he would shoot me. And so she said she just kind of stood there, and what she did was, that's when phones were barely getting the camera, so the video is real like pixelated. It's still not like as nice as it is now. And I'm sitting there, we're like eating Mexican food, and I'm just like, my stomach just starts to hurt, not because I'm just like, man, like why doesn't like the military make more of an effort to just like or do they make an effort? Because from what I understand, it's like it has to be documented, otherwise you don't get the assistance. It's like, wait, you don't think that they need it already?
Yeah,
like, I mean,
it's a lot of private organizations that are helping versus,
So there's a lot of bureaucratic process that goes behind it, right? Because the VA it's a federal government organization or agency, and it's by nature it's bureaucratic. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and then there's a stigma that's kind of associated mm-hmm. with it. And that's why we're talking about it, right? Is to kind of like defeat the stigma. I have a lot of friends, and one of the common themes is, it's PTS. Mm-hmm. We don't like to say D, because if you say disorder, then it means that you're not normal, right? You are normal. You just experienced something that was
other people
abnormal.
did. Sure, yeah, that was abnormal.
And you're having a normal reaction to an abnormal situation, right? To witness some of those things is just, it's one of those things where this is how people should react. Mm-hmm. Everyone's going to react differently, and everyone's going to handle it differently and cope with it differently. But it's one of those things where, to say that it's a disorder is kind of like, that's where part of the stigma goes into it, right? And then then it's like, oh, you're broken, or like the number one thing is like, people always ask. It was weird because like I'd go back and talk to I went back and talked to my high school or whatever. And they're like, you're in the military? Yes. I was like, what kind of gun did you carry? And how many people did you kill? And it's like, oh, sir, 7. It's like, well, I flew in the plane. I didn't really kill anybody. It was, it's non-kinetic. And they're like, you carried a gun? I'm like, yeah, it was just like a standard issue 9. And they're just, what? And it's like all this preconceived notion, because everyone thinks that it's like, it's all combat all the time. Like, that's like maybe 1% of the entire experience. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's probably the most impactful, right? Because it has like such, no one remembers the mundane stuff, right? It's like when you think back to college, you don't think about, just, hey, I went to class today or whatever. Like that one time I went to class was really impactful. You think about the things that were huge or monumental in those events, right? So it's kind of the same thing in the military. Is like just, hey, it's these small little moments, and those are the things that probably carry the most weight. And honestly, it's a lot of stuff. It's about there's a lot of people who endure different things, and it's not always combat related. Some people have been sexually assaulted in the military. That's something that they have to deal with, and then how the military handles that particular situation. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and they're working through it to try and make it better. But there's probably a lot of people that have gotten messed over in the past on that particular stance. And then there's other things.
And then maybe just kind of being in a place that's foreign to you is also very traumatic.
Yeah.
Always thinking what's coming next.
Right.
Always waiting, always being tense, waiting for something to happen.
So I listen to a lot of, Jocko podcasts, and he talks about like people in World War I and the reason why they had like a high, they used to call it shell shock then, but it was because you're sitting in a trench and you're getting hit with mortars and artillery rounds, and you're just watching explosions go on all around you. And it's like, you're defenseless. So naturally you're going to be like, man, I just got pounded all day with all this stuff. Like I can't deal with anything else. Whereas people who have the ability to go on the offensive and like take action and take their, their safety and all that stuff into their own hands, and they have the ability to impact what's going on, they typically suffer a lot less because they were able to have a say in what was going on, as opposed to kind of just being impacted by all the things that were going around on them.
It's almost kind of like that fight or flight idea, where it's like either you're going to make the choice to fight or you're just going to stay on defense.
Yeah. But
it
you're
really
not
is a
given
mental
the opportunity to make that choice, right? Like, if I'm getting hit by mortars and artillery, I basically have no choice but to sit where I am, because if I start running,
I
increase my chances of getting hit.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I stay in this hole that I dug, I've increased my chance for survivability as opposed to like going to run. So like the fight or flight, like your fight is to stay in that hole.
Yeah.
Which is counterintuitive, and it's also, it kind of, it mind fucks you.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, for me, that's a lot. Like, I can't. Anytime
and then it's hot as fuck over there.
Yeah,
and your balls are always sweaty.
That's why it angers me so much when like people just don't have.
But is there support?
So there is, and and that's kind of the thing that we're talking about.
Or is there enough? And why is it so bureaucratic? Like, there shouldn't be that much red tape to get these things done.
It's because everything has to be documented and has to be, put in your medical record. And then go through all these layers and process.
And then I've also been told that the reason sometimes you don't want to be documented is because it'll hurt anything else that you try to apply for. If you are like trying to move up or anything like that, it's like this whole evaluation thing. And then it's like, did you complete this?
So you're damaged goods.
So a lot of.
So you can be put on like a medical hold. And if you're on a medical hold, then they're like, okay, they basically stop your whole life. They're like, you're going to figure out what's ever going on with you medically. And then after that, we can start the process for everything else. So if you're going to move, which happens every 3 years, if you were going to potentially get promoted, if you're going to get out, if you like everything, no matter what it was, if there's a medical hold, you're done. You're just going to be in that, and it's a limbo.
So then that's why people don't even use those services, because it's counterproductive, especially if you're trying to continue to move up.
Yeah, and they've started to change that. So one of the big things that's come out of the GWOT, Global War on Terror, is it's just been sustained combat for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And then we've had, conventional forces and special operations forces, and the special operations forces have kind of changed the paradigm, and then that trickles down to the conventional force about like, hey, well, this is how we handle it, right? We recognize that these guys, we're just putting them through sustained combat. They're going all the time, nonstop, and they're seeing that 1% of action where the majority of these other people on the conventional side don't necessarily see. So how can we take the things that they're doing over here that are good and apply it to what they're doing over here? So they're making strides and efforts. I personally, so when I got out, like, I came to a decision point with what was going on in my life and conversations with my wife, and I was like, I need to go get help. And so I went to the VA, and I literally walked up to the counter, and I was like, and then I couldn't say anything else, right? Like the words help or assistance, like I could, like I heard it in my brain, but I couldn't formulate the words to like actually say, and I was just like stuck. And then once I, came to and was like, you need to talk. You're not, a full-on moron. You need to use your words. At that point, I was able to tell her what was going on. She's like, okay, well, cool. The lady's not here right now, but you can come back later, or you can wait for her. Like, she was in an appointment. I was like, okay, I'll come back later. And then I left and I never came back.
And you never went back,
Yeah, because, it was the realization.
So did you seek private counsel?
I did. So I listened to a ton of podcasts, like I was telling Rob earlier, and
it is like therapy, right?
100%.
Yeah, I agree.
It really is. It's therapy.
It is. It's like the best thing ever. You know what I'm saying? To listen to podcasts, for me, it's like you're like, and sometimes it'll make you realize, like, you know what? I'm all right.
Yeah. I'm going to be all right.
Yeah, I'm not as fucked up as I thought. Okay.
Well, getting out, I was like, I've got to maintain some type of connection to my tribe, right? The Sebastian Younger thing. And so, my tribe being in the military, started listening to some military podcasts. There was this one about all these veterans who'd gotten out called Zero Block 30, and they're comedians with Barstool. And
yeah.
Yeah, those guys are hilarious. I love them. And shout out chaps. And then, so they started this saying about, like mental health awareness and like it's okay. And they joined up and partnered with this organization called Get Headstrong. And getheadstrong.org is who I went to after that. Like I heard that on the podcast, and then I was just like, I'm going to find out what's going on. It was super easy, super simple. They kind of cut out all the bureaucratic process.
Yep.
Thankfully, they had something here in Houston. This is the only place in Texas that they have it. And so I went there, and then that's when I started getting help and starting, working through all the stuff that I kind of had. And you realize that it's not just maybe the trauma that you went through over there. Like it's a culmination of like a lot of different things because it impacts like our upbringing impacted my ability to handle things, and it changed how I process different things, right? Like the loss of my brother, the loss of like other things that I had in my family, that changed how I view things and the way I process stuff. And then that got amplified when I went to the military and did all that other stuff and see all that other stuff. And so like working with the counselors about like, how do I handle, things that are going on? And it's changed my viewpoint, and it's changed, my thought process and all that stuff. Like August 6th used to be a really hard day. And it, just thinking about those guys all the time, like I'd see their faces, hear their names, and it just like occupied every brain cell that I had until I got to the point to where I could be like, okay, well, there's certain things that I need to work through, and this is how I handle it. Like, honestly, I think if I hadn't had that, like COVID would have been significantly worse because, you go into this lockdown and then like you're just there with your family, and it's good to have them there, but at the same time, like you're still working through all these things. Like I've always had my family there, but it's not the same when you're kind of working through all that stuff. So shout out to my counselor for like helping me give the tools to figure out how to deal with life. Otherwise COVID would have sucked really hard.
Did you start to see issues in your marriage also? Was it your wife that kind of said, like
counseling,
hey, you need to get help, or this is not going to work for us? Or was it you yourself that one day realized like, I need help. I'm messing up my relationship with my wife. Like my marriage is going to go to shit if I don't do something.
Like every other man and Marine, I was like, I got this. Like I've always had that mentality of like, no, I can figure this out. Like I'm pretty smart. I can make this work. And I was real hesitant to like get the help. And then you just watch things kind of deteriorate around you, and you're like, I need to figure this out. Because like they always tell you when you leave the military, they're like, you can love the military all you want, but the military doesn't love you back. And like the day you're out, like they don't care. They're on to the next thing. It's a giant machine, and it keeps moving, and it, they'll give you all your little gifts, and they'll send you on your way, and then you're out the door. And that's what it was, is like getting out of the military, losing kind of, what you think is your identity. And because, like I talked about, right, from high school, from the age of 5, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. So this was kind of like who I was. Like, so getting out and finding who I am.
And now you're just this regular person. Is like, this sucks.
Yeah. One day, I'm in a squadron hanging out with my buddies, and we're flying jets. And then the next day I'm at home, like figuring out the transition process and trying to identify.
Taking out the trash.
Well, I always took out the trash, but yeah.
He's a gentleman. He's a gentleman.
Taking out the trash and just like, this fucking sucks.
And like
who
people
am I?
Look at you, and you don't wear your uniform every day and stuff like that. And you have all this stuff. You're like, I'm proud to be a Marine and all this stuff. And then you like get home and people are like, who the fuck are you? What do you want?
Yeah.
People, yes, thank you for your service. They pat you on the back, and that's a nice thing. But like, understanding like, again, that story that's behind people and like who they are and stuff like that. There's so many stories that are out there that are yet to be told, and it's really important to kind of get to know those people and like find out what's going on, and not just veterans.
Hey, when you seek this help and guidance, how do you know that you're making like improvements, or what's the point where you're like, this is what I needed, or this is helping?
It's iterative in that process. It's not like there's not a light switch. There's not a one thing fix all. It's not like religion where you're just like, I found Jesus, I'm healed. He's cleansed my sins, and I'm good, and I'm going to heaven, and everything's great.
Jesus is a whole other trauma in our life.
Let's not talk about it right now.
Okay.
That's a whole other episode.
Yeah, that'll be a couple episodes. That's a week-long syndicate podcast.
We could all speak on that.
Yeah. And, so it's just one of those things where you learn to deal with your things. And sometimes, you just find other things to kind of like devote yourself into, and making sure that you don't lose that purpose. I think a lot of people talk about that, veterans, is like identifying that purpose, because we all kind of had that desire to serve, right? That's why we went in, or get college money. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But, finding that, okay, I've blessed this thing, and I was part of a bigger cause and part of the greater good. Like, how do I continue that? And there's like so many options that are out there. The Travis Manion Foundation is an incredible organization that's about service, and it's about giving back to the community and giving back to the youth. And, finding those opportunities to kind of go and do those things, that's what's super important. And that's what's kind of been like my thing. I'll be honest, I haven't had a whole lot of time to kind of like dedicate, because like between work, kids, the reserves, all sort of stuff, like I'm not the greatest at like time management sometimes, and like managing all those aspects is like difficult, but you still got to find time to, if you're going through these things, you got to find time to do those things that are important to you, and find a way to kind of reach out. And
it's called the Travis what organization?
Travis Manion Foundation. Yeah.
Well, you're good with time management. You made it to your podcast on time.
Ooh. Burn.
I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning, okay?
You're up every day at 4 o'clock in the morning. You should be used to it.
No, I didn't get to sleep because the night before was...
They don't get it, Marissa, when you're pregnant.
Ron was about to leave. He took out his DJ equipment. We didn't go to sleep till 2 o'clock in the morning. He was...
Nice.
Well, it was the Mayweather and Logan Paul fight. So it was too much. But anyway, yeah, it was tough. But how do you know that those things were the counseling that you were getting was making a positive impact? Like, did you see it in your family? Did you see it in the kids, the way they react to you? Did you see the way you react to certain situations? I remember you and I talking one time, and you said something about like when there was an issue with like Rosa or the kids, or for you, it was hard for you to understand their issue because your issues are like life or death, and their issues are like small potatoes.
Yeah.
From the way that you're looking at it.
I think that's what my friend was going through when she got out.
And I remember you kind of saying that you had to like kind of bring it down a little bit so that you could understand what they were going through, because you were just kind of like not looking at it like not looking at their situation or the things that were stressful or the things that were stressful to Rosa the same way, because in your mind you're like, that's nothing, you know.
I was a real asshole is the easiest way to put it, because you're right, like,
it's hard for you to sympathize.
Maybe empathize, right? And just recognize that, hey, what's going on in your world? Again, your problems are biggest to you, right? And so saying, hey, that's what's going on. And like, I mean, you get taught to compartmentalize and to kind of deal with things almost in like a binary fashion, right? It's like, is it going to kill me? Yes, no? Yes, we're going to deal with it. No? Okay, I'm going to move on to something else, right? I've got to figure out, especially in aviation, right? Like, you don't have time to think about a lot of different things that are going on because so many different things are going on at the same time. So you kind of have to be like, oh, I'm going to focus on this, then focus on this, and this, and this, and this, and I'll come back to it, right? If it's not killing me right now, then I can come back to it. Yeah, I've got to focus on other things. Otherwise, you get, focused in on one thing, and then all the other things are going to be the thing that kill you. So that's kind of how I treated a lot of what was going on in life. It's just like, well, are you going to die? Like, how bad is it? It's like, no. It's like,
I can only think of the meme.
But did you die?
Yes.
Did you die?
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, exactly. But that's a real asshole way to kind of go through life.
And with the same straight face, he's telling his wife, are you okay? And
yeah, but
okay.
You know what? That's also a dude thing, I would say, because you're right. Like, there are some things that are just so frivolous that you can't help but say, why are you nagging about this? It is not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And in your case, you had experienced things that were so gravely more dire that you're like, I'm really telling you, this isn't the end of the world. Please stop nagging about this.
But it's important to them, and you have to recognize
that
it's important to them, and then kind of move forward from that aspect, because otherwise you're just you're screwing yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And you're the demise of your own existence at that point. So I think that was the thing. But like when did I recognize that things were working? So when I recognized things were going bad is we're outside playing in the backyard, and my son is kind of just like messing around with the water hose or whatever. And then, Rosa turns around, she like sprays me with the water hose. And it was one of those things where it's like, hey, we're all playing outside. It's hot outside. Like, you should be happy to be sprayed with the water hose. And I just like snap. Like, my reaction to that was completely, outside of what normal people would expect, right?
Yeah.
I just like, what are you doing? I'm like flipping out, getting all angry. She's just like, the fuck is going on with you? Like, where are you at?
And she will say it like that too. Like, what the fuck is going on with you, bitch? Like, that's the way she is. She's crazy. So
You coached her, obviously.
she's from Denver. She's from fucking Fifth Ward, damn near Denver Harbor, which is crazy.
So Rosa never lets the truth, or Marissa never lets the truth get in the way of a good story. She'll definitely exaggerate to emphasize her point. No, she doesn't actually talk like that. She's super sweet and kind. I actually wish I was more like her and not as evil as we are.
I think I believe Marissa on this one.
I don't know, man. Rosa's extra. Her alter ego is Esperanza. So I know you love her, but let's be real.
That's funny.
Okay, go ahead.
Esperanza is she's different. She's special. But we all have our alter egos.
Pretty much.
That's for After Dark. Marissa. After Dark.
So then?
So, at that point, that's when I recognized, I was like, oh, you are not the same person. You're not, it's not fair to your family at this point to kind of be this way.
Yeah.
So you need to figure out something that's going on. And then I don't, it's like I said, it's just iterative, and you go through there and you're working through some of the things. I remember there was this thing, I don't know what the heck it's called, but she's basically like tapping your hand or whatever, and she like taps different parts of your body while you're talking through the thing, and you're trying to like re-experience the
Like transcendental meditation, kind of?
I think so. I think that's what it's called. And I remember
that just kind of gave me a weird. I
want that.
TM, yeah, TM.
I want that.
Yeah. And so we had seen it. Me and Rosa were watching a show on Showtime, and we're like, it's like I saw that and I was like, that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And literally like 2 weeks later, the counselor's doing it with me, and I'm just like, I started laughing at first, and I was just like, okay, you got to focus, because this is going to be the thing that helps you, right? You cannot approach this and be like, this is fucking stupid, I'm not going to participate because I'm a big, strong Marine. Yeah. Obviously, you're not strong enough because you're in this position right now. So pull your head out and fucking focus. But going through all those things and like being able to see, like, it didn't impact me, right? So like, the first time that you think about like how August 6th would approach, and like how I would just kind of like get all, in my own brain about like all the things that went on, and just like you kind of go in this loop and this cycle of like reliving it over and over and over and over, and just going through the worst possible scenarios, and then being able to be like, okay, well now, like with Memorial Day that just passed by, like I've changed the narrative on what it is, right? And it's about celebrating life. It's about enjoying the times that you're here, because those guys would give anything they could to have one more day on Earth to spend with their families, to get sprayed with a water hose, to take out the trash, to do the normal mundane things that we all take for granted. They would give anything to be back to do that again. And so, thinking about those guys and what they did and the sacrifices that they made, and then being like, I cannot be an asshole all the time, right? They would be disappointed. I try and think about that and say, if they were looking at me right now, what would that be like? Would I be representing them well? Would I be living up to the legacy that they left behind? Or how do I change that? How do I go from what I'm doing to like making it better? And that's kind of, besides living for my family and all that stuff, like I try and live for them and like all the things that they've done. So
that's always my issue with veterans or anybody who's been in the military. Like the first time for me, I was always kind of bitter towards the military because of the fact that I didn't understand why they came into middle school to promote military. Yeah. And they would come in, obviously, in a predominantly Hispanic and Black community, because obviously it's where you're going to probably get most of your people to sign up. So I still don't know why I understood that in the 8th grade. Most 8th graders are not thinking about shit like that.
About getting high in the bed.
Mine so went deep.
But it was a career day. And so they came, and I remember them trying to give you this whole spiel about how great it was to be in the military. And I was like, there's nothing that you're saying to me that is going to convince me. Like, that is for somebody who just knows in their heart. And that was it, right? That was all I thought about it, whatever. I always have respect for anybody in the military because I just don't have that commitment, right? And then I had a job placement agency. I think I've told the story before, and it was the first time I had ever gone into the VA hospital right down here on whatever this street is over here in downtown or midtown, whatever this is called. And I remember I went in, my client was getting a job inside the mailroom, which, they don't have that anymore, but they were getting a job in the mailroom, and I'm sitting there, my client is waiting to get interviewed, and this guy's waiting for his medication. I don't know how many times he's already been in there to try to pick it up, and they just were treating him like shit. And I was just like, the girl who's working there wasn't even in the military, so she's just like has no respect.
No
respect.
Yep.
I'm just like, can you please just somebody slap this hoe? Like, I was just like already like, I was just getting so mad, I was like, and my client's looking at me, right? He's deaf, so he has no idea what's happening. And I'm just looking at him and I'm trying to explain to him why I'm so like getting aggravated. And meanwhile, I'm like, I need to calm down.
So when you were signing to him, you're like,
yeah, basically.
We're doing it angrily.
Of course, yeah. And I'm trying to explain to him. I was like, "This is so frustrating that you don't understand." And you know what I'm saying? And I was like, these people. He's a veteran, and it's like, and I couldn't express to him like how frustrating this was. And I was just like, "Is nobody gonna fire this bitch?" Because,
hey, how would you sign? This is frustrating. Oh, you're hitting yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, that's for real.
to do that all the time now.
So you're
Just
frustrated.
looking at the kids.
Yeah. So
Looking at Rome, like, put the DJ equipment up.
Yeah. So you're just like, I'm telling him, it's just so frustrating. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like trying to explain to him. And he's like, okay, like, I'm just here trying to get a job in the mailroom. I don't know why you're so mad about what's happening
Can
right
we focus on me?
Yeah, right. I am your client.
He's like,
here.
I am your client trying to get this job. I need you to calm down and come in here and do this interview right, because I'm not going to get the job, But
You're
it was
all
just
frustrated.
yeah, exactly. I was like so mad, and I was just like, gosh, have some respect. Like, he's been in here. He said he'd been waiting already the whole week to try to get his refill on his medication.
And that is frustrating, and that's my biggest frustration with the military.
Exactly.
Is not our military. I think that they are a prized possession. But I
Definitely.
think that the way that we treat the resources, or the way resources are allocated, because there are resources, our tax dollars support the military, and I think it's the highest thing that we do other than corporate welfare, is the way that the funds are allotted to support active service members and veterans. Why does there have to be so much red tape to get the treatment that you need? Why does there have to be an X on your back just because you say that you need help?
Exactly.
Why do you have to wait so long to get the medication that you need? Why is the VA such a clusterfuck? Like, that is what's so fucking frustrating. That is what's frustrating.
Right, step back and then think about, you're looking at the microcosm of like right now, right? Look at the holistic view of like the entirety of the organization.
Of course.
So where have we been before 9/11? What did we do? What were we in? There was like Desert Storm, which was 100 days, right?
Desert Storm.
There was Grenada, Panama, a couple things, right? Like, these are fractional little things. Before that, you got to go back to basically the 70s to Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
So we had this period of, so it's 2001, so it's almost 30 years of like nothing, right? So as you have a 30-year generational gap of like, there wasn't a whole lot going on. We're dealing with the Vietnam guys. That's the only thing that we're really worried about. How did we treat those guys kind of plays into like the
and
whole
even the
nuance
Vietnam
of, like,
guys, they got a bad, they didn't get the support that they needed.
It's starting to come around, right? Granted, we're, GWAT had its 18th birthday, and now it's, able to go and serve its own country as well. We've been able to take a lot of those things that we learned from the very beginning. We have so many people who are coming back as like double, triple, amputees, quadruple amputees. And so we're trying to learn all that stuff and like make it a better place. I think it's gotten better than where it used to be. Does it have work and room for improvement? Absolutely, hands down. But I think it's getting better because they're learning, hey, there's ways to kind of make this go faster, right? So because we've had this large influx, right, since 2001, there's been people who have served this country in the global war on terror, and they're coming back now, and they're trying to get all these things.
So we've been fighting the global war on terror for 18 years, you said?
Since 2001, right? November 2001 is when we went into Afghanistan.
That's a long time.
So I don't know. I know we've talked about what you can and can't say. Do you have anything you could say about how you feel things have been since, or even about 9/11 in general? Do you have your own thoughts about it that you can publicly state?
And even the fact that we've been doing this for so fucking long already. Like, we've been in this perpetual war, whatever the fuck that's been going on since 2001.
War on terror.
The war on terror.
It's a very complicated thing that's, interwoven in so many other different things, right? You can't point at one administration and be like, you're the reason, right?
Yeah.
Because there was George W., there was Obama, there was Trump, and now there's Biden. And they've all played a part in it. And then, but it's not just the president, right? It's, it's your elected officials at the state
It's our
level
relationships
as well.
that we have with these other countries.
It's so nuanced, and to be like, it's bad because that's taken a very short-sighted view of like the interplay between global politics, right? And like how all this stuff works. So I just think it's been a very difficult situation for a lot of people, and it's caused a lot of different things for some people. But at the same time, I mean, I've benefited from my service in the military, right? And the experiences that I've had, I'm able to translate a lot of that stuff, good and bad, into opportunities now. So I can't take it as it's all been bad and it's all horrible. And, war is not a great thing. Would I want my kids to go through that? Absolutely not, right? Which is why I serve, because, I had this grand notion when I was 18 years old that I was like, I'm going to do this so that way my family doesn't have to do it. Not just the family that I don't have right now, but the family that I do have. Marissa, my other cousins, my sister, making sure that they're not involved in this. I'm going to go ahead and fill the gap. Right, I had this grand notion. It's all super romantic, and then you get in it, and you're like, "Oh, this is almost like a business." So, I don't necessarily look at it as like it's a good thing or a bad thing. I just kind of think that it is what it is, and if you really get to understand it, because we've had it for so long, right? And it's been at the forefront of everybody. Well, forefront of my thought process, not everybody else, but a lot of people have kind of gotten exposure to it that they probably normally wouldn't have in another situation. So, I think it's changed a lot of people's approach and view, right? I mean, think about like what World War II was like, and those people, they had victory gardens, you had rationing and all that stuff. Like, we weren't impacted like that. So I think it's changed like people's views and perspectives, and like, some people have made a lot of money on it. Some people have been devastated by it. It's just, you have the entire spectrum of emotions when it comes to it. So there's a lot that kind of gets into it. To like boil it down to one thing is really
what
impossible.
Is it going to take from your understanding for this kind of to just be over? I mean,
you're talking about utopia.
But we've been there so long. What else what are we trying to do? Stabilize these people over there so that they can...
We've been everywhere for a long time. Think about it, right? So we have bases in Korea. Why? Because, we had the Korean conflict. Technically, it isn't over, right?
Yeah.
We have bases in Japan. We have bases in Europe. Why? Because, we go in there, we did our thing, and then now we're doing the nation building. We're propping them back up, and then that translates into something else, right? Now we're like, okay, well, now we're not friends with Russia or USSR at the time. Yeah. So how do we strategically position ourselves so that way we can, do all these things? Like, I don't want to sound like I know everything, because I don't. Like, the most annoying thing is hearing a veteran talk about global politics like they're the subject matter expert when they know very little because they had a very small exposure to it. But I just try and think about like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and to try and boil it down to one thing is pretty ignorant.
Are there ever any like times when things happen and you're like, oh shit, they might call me back to...
I think everybody else around me thinks that. Like, I remember when 9/11 happened, and I was, in ROTC at A&M, and like, the first thing my mom said is like, are they going to call you up? I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's people that are more qualified right now to go do it than my parents. Like, they're just like, shut up, go sit in the corner. We got people for this right now. We'll call you if we run out of a lot of people. And then there's more people behind those people. And when we run out of those people, we'll call you. I don't necessarily get too wrapped up in it because I know I've seen it for a long time, you know, and I've just been exposed to it. So, there would have to be a significant movement in certain things for it to be like, shit's popping. We got to get ready.
Yeah. Guys, if you hear a bunch of kids screaming in the back, I'm sorry. They're playing in the backyard. Our office is in the backyard. So I'm sorry if you hear a bunch of kids screaming as we're trying to have a serious conversation on this podcast. I'm just listening. I'm just like, oh my God. There's a water hose connection in the front. Why did she bring him to the back? But okay. I got Penny this new spider thing, and it's like water. And
well, I just gave both of my kids a phone, so they're probably not outside playing.
Definitely not.
They're on the phone.
Yeah.
The whole thing with, I guess, like, I always feel like, why is it that when you get out of the military, it just stops? Why
are you discarded? That's another thing.
And I didn't know that either. It wasn't until my friend got out of the military, and I don't know, it's real simple. I mean, she found a a few lumps in her breast and like underneath, like in her throat area. And I had just asked her, I said, well, weren't you in the military? Don't you get insurance afterwards? And she's like, no. I said, whoa. So you get out the military and you get nothing? I said, how do you get insurance? She's like, same way you do. I got to go get my own private insurance.
You've got your own private, right?
I said, you serve.
No, because I'm still in the reserves. So I use,
okay. So you keep your benefits.
She's
I use
not,
some of them.
but she works in IT now. So she completely, this is another girlfriend of mine. And I was just like, I said, so you just don't get nothing? She goes, no. She goes, you get out and you're out. You're out. You're out and you're just somebody who served in the military. And my brain just went like, wait. How is it that you just get out of serving and you're doing so much for our country and they just say, peace out, we're done with you?
That is a difficult concept for a lot of people to grasp, is service, right? Service before self. Putting yourself in a situation where it's really cliche, but you write that check, right, up to and including your life, and you say, okay, here you go. I'm going to give this to you for the period of time that I serve, and then when I get out, I get that check back. So, I mean, it's just kind of the reality of it. I don't want to say too many things because I don't know the full how it all completely works out for like, because I know like when I got out there, like, hey, you can get VA benefits and insurance for like up to 5 years after you leave, but it's like really like bare bones kind of stuff.
Super shitty.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just bare bones coverage, right? But at the same time, like when you're in, you had full coverage. Like if I did anything, like I could be like, yo, this is what's broken. I need to fix it. And then they,
Well, yeah, now you can get surgeries and change your sex if you want.
Is that what you're going to do?
No, I don't think I'm eligible for that one.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that. I was like, okay, that's a whole other
Is that
day for
really
me.
covered? Sex
I think
changes?
so.
If you, from what I read, so I know you can't believe everything you read nowadays, right?
Are my tax dollars paying
Yes,
for sex?
but
So I think
you have to be in. You've had to like come in as right? Like you didn't discover that until you were in there, right, or something like that.
I don't know about that. So I guess the most highlighted case is Bradley, now Chelsea Manning, right? So she got the change, I think when she was in prison, because she was indicted for all that stuff. So it was one of those things that, yeah, I mean, it's eligible and it's available. But I mean, they do breast augmentations. There's all sorts of stuff
And
that's
we're paying
available
for that, bro.
So I mean, there's stuff that's out there.
Yeah.
But we can't have a decent VA?
Thank you. I get
See,
so
that's
mad.
the kind of shit
Marissa
that
and I
pisses
can't
me
have a
off.
lot of conversations, just so that you know, because we get mad because I just don't get how. In the bright minds of whoever created this, it's
The
like
system.
the system. It's like
There's just so
you're
much
using my
waste.
tax dollars
Yep.
for what? When we're missing this, we're missing that. Sorry, my eyelash has been bothering me the entire time, and I think it's
Once
the
we turn on the
fan.
fan, do we need to face it towards
So anyway, I get so mad about it because I just feel like it's so broken. Like, bro, like this community does so much for us, and all we can do is say, sorry, you have to apply for this and you may get approved. I don't know. And it's like, but we're using money for totally unuseful things. You know what I'm saying? I was like, what is the solution? Where do you start? Like, who do you talk to? And I know this
Your
is like
elected officials.
but they that's just it. Who over them? Like, somebody's got to do
It just
something.
seems like you just keep running into a brick wall when
You
you're trying to
do.
get some fucking answers.
Exactly.
Like,
Because
why are we paying for sex changes, bitch, when the VA needs so much funding?
it's a much bigger machine than you think it is, you know? And,
No, it's a big machine.
and so like,
I know that.
yeah, you have to understand that like there's so many different things that go in, and like whoever got that like approved and pushed that and made that their agenda, then great for them. Whatever their pathway was to get it done that way, that's going to be your pathway to however it is that you want to do. If you want to get change done, then that's there's a pathway to get it accomplished. It's just you have to do it right. So Jon Stewart has a huge platform, and he was helping all those 9/11 veterans, and he got them their extended benefits.
Great.
I think right before like COVID hit, right?
Yeah.
And then but now he's transitioned out. God bless him. He went from doing that to like focusing in on Veterans Affairs and like how do we get people help and do all that stuff. It's bringing awareness, getting people involved, stuff like that. That's how you drive and impact change. Is like bringing the awareness and then being the squeaky wheel. It's simple.
I need the names of all these organizations you said today because I'm going to get on it when we leave.
We're all going to be squeaky wheels.
Yes. I said I always say this. It's like I don't like to use like my platform to promote other businesses, right? So it's like I'm going to do it for something that I feel is important. Yeah. This is important. You see what I'm saying? It's like, don't ask me if I want to promote your shampoo right now. You know what I'm saying? Like
not right now.
So not right now.
You're not.
Now's not the time to talk about bringing out my product
line. Let me maybe start losing my hair. I don't know. Like this is not important to me. Shampoo, I feel so bad sometimes, but I'm just like, this is not important. Sorry, I cannot promote this. But
that's why I agreed to be here. Is like, I think it's important that you have to talk about these kinds of things, right? And just like kind of break down the stigma. And we're not all ticking time bombs that are just waiting to like erupt and like do all this stuff. Like, I watch the news, and anytime I see something bad that happened, I'm just like, oh, please don't be a veteran. Please don't be a veteran. And then you're like, oh, thank God it wasn't. It was somebody else, that went and did something stupid. So those are the kinds of things. But I think it's really important to kind of get the information out there. I've talked to so many of my friends privately about these kinds of things and like shared my story because my wife has encouraged me. She's like, you have to let them know like what you're doing and how you're making change because they're going through those same things.
Yep.
And what you don't want to do is you don't want to be at a situation where they lost their battle with the demons because you didn't talk to them. Like you were talking about your friend and the stuff that they're going through and you don't talk to them as much. And it's like, just reaching out and giving a phone call. Like, I'm not super great at it all the time. I'm probably the worst. There's a text message that I'm supposed to return from like 2 weeks ago right now that I haven't gotten to. But it's important to reach out to those people and like give them the opportunity to just say, hey, you don't have to take on like this monumental challenge of like, give me all your problems and let me fix them. Like just, hey, what's going on? How are you doing? Okay, good. I want to check in on you, make sure that everything's okay. Good. All right. We'll chat later. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you in the meantime. There's that whole 22 push-ups thing that was a big push a while back. And it's like, reach out to 22 people and talk to them and make sure that they're okay. Reach back to your friends because we move all the time. Like every 3 years you go into a new place and then you meet new people and then you guess what? You leave from that place and you go somewhere else. Like before I was here, I was actually meeting with a friend of mine who was on that second deployment with me. And, she immediately went back into, I think we had been talking for like 5 minutes and she immediately went back into busting my balls about something that I had told her while we were on deployment. And, but that's the thing that kind of just like re-energizes my spirit is like being able to spend time with those people and talk to them and, reconnect over those memories of like either hardship or, just things where we're being goofballs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Because I don't think no one, like, we couldn't relate because we weren't there. You know, so it's like that camaraderie is like so important to where it's like, there needs to be something, like, okay, you're out.
Or maybe like getting together once a month or once every 6 months, maybe something that.
And I think it's a guy thing too, maybe, because I'll ask my husband, I'll be like, hey, have you texted so-and-so? I haven't talked to so-and-so in a while. It's like, yeah, I think they sent me a text message like 2 weeks ago. Like, kind of like how you, it's like, yeah, let me see if I replied. And he'll check.
He's like,
he's like, nah, I didn't reply. I'm like, okay.
But he's arguing in the comments.
Yeah, right.
But he's not replying to the text.
But the comments are so good.
The comments are outstanding.
I love the dumpster fire that is comments.
Dude, that picture he posted yesterday with the fucking mullet with the flag on it. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, people tagged Riff Raff.
I love
Jody
Riff Raff.
High-Riler.
I've loved Riff Raff for the last like 15 years. It's sad.
You wait till you see this photo shoot he's about to do, Marissa.
Oh my God. And I was telling you,
Freedom.
And I was gonna tell you, those Riff Raff sunglasses that he's transitioned into this whole like Jody High Roller because he used to just not be that. But those sunglasses, I think you need those for the HERR apparel.
Yeah, I need to look at them.
You gotta look at them. They're crazy.
Let me look at them.
They're insane.
Crazy sounds those are my words.
You gotta keep in touch, man.
Yeah.
And get together.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Do y'all ever do that? Do y'all get together? People that you served with? Or everybody's so scattered around the United States, it's hard.
Well, I mean, a lot of us are kind of like all over, right?
Yeah.
Like a friend of mine is he's going to be the commanding officer of a squadron, and I wanted to go out there, but there's all these COVID protocols and others because he's in the military, and so they have to follow those rules.
Yeah.
And like, who's allowed? A friend of mine texted me the other day, and he's coming in. He gets in tomorrow. We're going to go have dinner, and just catch up and chit chat and BS for a little bit, and then my friend, she's coming in because she's interviewing for a position down here, and she's like, "Hey, do you have time for a coffee?" And I'm like, you're an hour away, and I got this other thing.
Yeah.
But you know what? This is really important because if I blow you off, then I'm not living.
You're missing an opportunity.
I'm missing an opportunity,
Yeah.
and I'm, you reached out to me, and I can't blow you off after you reached out to me, right? Like if I reach out to you and you blow me off, and then you're like, "Hey, I want to do it this time." I'm like, "Well, it doesn't really fit my schedule." That's a valid excuse, right? But when they reach out to you, then you got to take that time to kind of engage and say, "Okay, let's talk." And it was super awesome. I really enjoyed having that chit chat with her and talking about where she is and where she's going and what she's doing now.
Yeah, I think that's important. Just because one of the things I didn't understand a lot about the military is, and it's talking to people who actually experience it and are in it and so forth. Even with the Vanessa Guillen thing, right? I'm so confused about that because it's like, wait, so I let my 18-year-old child go to the military, and you just don't know where my child is? Like you don't have a roster? Like you don't call roll at night? Like, okay, is so and so here? Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? It's like I can't, like it doesn't compute in my head at all. You know what I'm saying? Like how this happens, how
you're always going to have bad actors in whatever field you're in, whether it's the military or the education system or you're always going to have some shitbags.
The military is a cross-section of America, right? And so if 1 out of 5 people is a sociopath, 1 out of 5 people in the military is a sociopath. And that's a made-up statistic, but that's just to drive home the reality of it's
a mixed bag.
We're just made up of everything else that's out there. Granted, we're doing all these awesome things, and there's all these people doing super high-speed stuff, but at the same time, they're still just humans, right? There's another guy who talks about in his Navy SEAL class, the honor man, right? So this guy graduated, BUD/S, Navy SEAL. He's the honor man, basically means he can run fast, swim really well, and do a bunch of exercises. But he ended up getting convicted of murder. Him and his wife would lure people back, murder them, and then get rid of the bodies. It's well, this guy was supposed to be the epitome of the elite, right?
Yeah.
The top 1%. And guess what? He's still a fucking horrible human being, and he did unspeakable things to people that it was just crazy. Yeah. But, that's what it is. It's a cross section of America. There's people who've done tons of horrible things, just like there's been people who've done completely amazing things. And just like there's people who are just I'm just average and I'm just going to fucking float and get my college money and just peace out.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's kind of
no new friends, my soul. No new friends.
No new friends.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things that I just kind of sit there and I just why doesn't anyone else care about this? Why doesn't anyone else, really find interest? And then I get it. We're all living our own lives. It's kind of like you said, everybody has their own problems in their own mind, and you're living your day to day. And it's I'm just trying to, keep the lights on, put food on the table, whatever it is. But it's also these entities are such a big role in our country. You would think that
it's impossible to control. There's no way to know what someone's thinking, what their intentions are.
It's there's no psych evaluation before you come in, so it's just pass this test, and then you just a physical, and then you just kind of go in. I don't know. There's got to be something, because when they finally found the body of Vanessa Guillen, they found so many other bodies also that had been missing, and I was just
Fort Hood didn't have a good month that month.
No,
I was
didn't.
Wait, what? So this happens a lot, and so then I go down rabbit holes, right? And so then I find this website that's a private organizations that help parents whose kids have gone missing, and the military has done nothing to obviously it's kind of like you said, there's all this red tape before you got to go through all this and through that, and so there was a story about the young girl who supposedly they claimed that she shot herself with her foot. She used her big toe to pulled the trigger. And I'm like, whoa, that's a strong toe. You know what I'm saying? I'm just thinking it. I mean, if you've shot a gun before, you know, I don't know that my big toe has that much strength, you know, and not that type of gun either. You know, it's like I don't know. And so it was like, and then they cut the tongue out just so that you couldn't find the type of bullet that was used. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, and he was an ex-veteran. He didn't want his daughter to go into the military. He's telling his story, you know, and I'm just like, so they've created this organization that helps parents, you know, whose kids have gone missing. And I'm just like, these are things that we should, like you said, be making noise about, you know what I'm saying? Helping these organizations get funding, get, you know what I'm saying, more, you know, available help for those parents who have to go through this. Even the veterans, like the ones that they get like, they get houses built, you know what I'm saying? What is that? Can't think of what the name is, you know, and I'm like, those types of organizations need so much more like light to them, because they're doing so much to help, because, you know, like they come back 4 or 5, what did you say, 3, 4 amputees, like, you know, so it's like, you know, it's like, what are they going to do?
That's hard, right? Because there's, so like I'm in, when I was getting out, there's a transition process, and, you know, the military is like, here you go, you're going to go to this class for a week and we're going to set you up for success on how to get out. It's like, that didn't work, right? It was very lackluster, to say the least. But I found other programs, and sometimes it's word of mouth, and you kind of just figure it out. There's all these, so you think, you know, who's going to have the most money and skill behind it, right? It's probably Special Operations Forces. Those guys are going to have all the money, right? Like they're just going to throw money at them to take care of their families and all sorts of stuff. It's like, you die in combat, like those 31 guys that died, they should probably have everything taken care of their families, right?
That's what we talk about all the time, is like,
but it's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
And so what happens a lot of times is veterans or active duty service members, they will start organizations and foundations inside, right? So you can talk about the Green Beret Foundation, the Navy SEAL Foundation. Three of my friends that I went through initial training with, they started this organization called the Wingman Foundation. And it was, so if you die in an aviation-related accident or even get injured, they have to go through the investigation and all this process before they release funds and money. And in the meantime, you have to travel to go see your service member. Maybe your service member is in a different country or in a different state. What if you're the girlfriend, right? The military does not recognize girlfriends. They don't care.
Yeah, of course.
Or boyfriends.
Yeah.
They just say, okay, cool story. I'm glad you loved that person, but you weren't married to them, so we don't owe you anything. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, there's stories of like, how do you help that family who's already dealing with a traumatic situation go and figure out all this stuff? And so they would raise money in the event of a situation that happened, and then donate that money to the squadron to help them, you know, bring that family over or figure out other things. Like two of my really good friends, one of them was my student, one of them was a friend of mine from flight school. They perished in a mishap in Key West, right? And so immediately the foundation stepped up and was like, hey, how can we help? How can we figure things out? So that way we can get you guys situated. One, because, you know, as a squadron, you just lost 2 of your family members, 2 of your brothers who just died in this horrible accident. And then you got to keep carrying on with daily life. Oh, by the way, like his wife, his kids, you know, this guy's other wife, like how do you figure out all that stuff and like get them help and situated? And they found that as a gap, and they're like, hey, we're going to fill in and we're going to make sure that we get this covered and situated, because at the end of the day, it's about supporting our family, and we try and look at each other as brothers and sisters and make sure that we're taken care of, because that's what's really important, right? So I think there's a lot of organizations and foundations that are out there, and they're doing a lot of good work, but there's so many, right? And we live in this day and age of like everything's at your phone. You're getting all these alerts and messages, right? Everybody's fighting for your attention, and things move so quickly, right? You know, there's things that would go on in the past administration, and it would be like, boop, it was a blurb. And like, if you weren't on Twitter, like immediately paying attention, then like you missed it. And we're just like on to the next thing. I got fucking shit's moving at light speed here, and you got to keep up. And so that's where we're at right now. There's like, you know, we're pulling
very
out.
low attention span.
Yeah, we're all goldfish, you know, and we're pulling out of Afghanistan, or that's the plan. And so all these things are going to start to kind of fade to the background, right? But like, there's still people who are out there who are doing good work and who are doing great things.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're doing everything they can, right? They're on social media and they're trying to push out that information, you know. Great job, you know, for that podcast to kind of bring Headstrong to the forefront. And like, they've from when I joined and got on their website, it's completely different than what it is now, right? They're like a totally different foundation, and they're doing a lot of good work. So it's one of those things where there's people out there, they're doing good stuff. They're doing everything they can, but you're still going to have bad actors. You're still going to have bad situations, and we just got to keep focusing in on the good things and focusing on that good fight, so we can bring better stuff to those around us in our community.
So what are you doing now? Work-wise,
I work at NASA. I'm the training officer for astronauts, astronaut candidates.
It seemed very military-esque when I went over there. Because what did they do? They gave you something. Remember I went to this ceremony?
So I was getting promoted, which was military.
Okay, but I wasn't sure. Because it was like,
Rosa.
is there still military? Are you still military? Like active? Or what's happening?
I asked my boss, who was a military officer, I was like, hey, can you, because you have someone read you the oath of office. Typically, they are a higher rank than you are. And I asked him to give me the oath of office so that way I could go into the next rank. And then, I had my wife and my son.
So where are you now?
Home.
What's your rank now?
So now I'm a major in the Marine Corps Reserve. I work out of a unit in Florida doing fun stuff that I enjoy.
Cool.
Like blowing things
Got it.
up.
So what do you do at NASA?
I'm the training officer for astronauts, astronaut candidates. I'm a flight science officer, which is a glorified term for like a guy who talks to people, scientists in the back while the pilots are flying and like figure stuff out.
Interesting.
That's cool.
I'm what was that thing in Office Space where he's like, I'm the people person.
You're a people person.
Yeah, I'm the people person.
That's my tabler.
Flight operations supervisor for T-38s, which is the training aircraft for the astronauts.
So do you still fly every so
I
often?
do. I get to fly as a flight science officer. I get to fly in the our G5 and G3 airborne science aircraft, right? We do a bunch of different stuff. We have 2 different missions. We're responsible for bringing astronauts home from Kazakhstan when they land in Russia. We have 24 hours to get them home. I was part of the group that brought Crew 1 home from when they landed over in the Gulf of Mexico. So flew out to Florida, brought those 4 astronauts back home. That was, probably one of my highlights. Because to everybody else, they hear the word astronaut, they're just like, oh, this super aloof person. It's like, no, these are human beings to me. That's Victor, that's Shannon, that's Mike. So those are, and I have personal relationships with them, and so like bringing them home to go see their families at the culmination event of like landing out of space, like that was super awesome for me.
No, that is super awesome.
Yeah.
That's a damn.
Wow, I didn't know he was such a badass.
No, I didn't do anything spectacular.
You still brought him home.
Yeah, that's pretty spectacular to me. Shit.
I made sure they were buckled in and had refreshments.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think it is. Before we let you go, what is something that what is some advice you would give somebody who's experiencing or going through PTS themselves and maybe the family on how family could be better at understanding where somebody who's going through PTS is how you should approach and how you could be a better support system, and then vice versa, like how do you go about seeking help, like
both sides of the table.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think speaking from the veteran or even the active duty member, is you have to recognize that you need help, and then you have to ask, and even though it seems like I'm going to train wreck my career and everything's going to be over, it's like there's life outside the military. Just like I would always tell my cousins when I got to A&M, I'm like, yo, there's life beyond high school. Like, don't get stuck in this trap.
Yeah.
Like, this is a rat race. Like, you need to be prepared to go to bigger and better things. And you think, I'm a sniper, I'm at the pinnacle of what I'm doing, and now I'm injured and they won't let me carry my gun and go do the things that I love to go do. It's like, there's still life outside, right? Like, I'm doing something that I never would have thought I was going to ever do in a million years. And had I stayed in the military, I wouldn't be able to do this job that I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of joy and passion in doing what I'm doing. So I would say ask for help. It's not like at the end of the day, the only detriment you're going to bring to yourself is by not asking. So, go seek that help, ask for it, because at the end of the day, it's your well-being that's really important that you need to take care of. And then from the family perspective, I'm going to try and conjure up what my wife would probably say. And it's like, be supportive, but at the same time, you have to give them tough love and tell, hey, like, something's wrong. Let's talk about it. If you don't want to talk to me about it, then I want you to go talk to somebody about it. Because, it's important that I get the real you back, right? Like, Marisol goes off to war and comes back. She's different. I've had friends that, before I left to war, she left to war. She was in Abu Ghraib right after all this stuff happened over there, and she was just a different person. She was just, you could see that there was a change, and good and bad, but it's one of those things where it's like, hey, I recognize that something's going on. Like, do you want to talk to me about it? How can I help you? What, if anything, is there that I can help with? It's like, you can't relate to me, so I don't want to talk to you. It's like, okay, well, let's call such and such because, they were with you there, and let's, you guys talk. Go call them right now. Go send them a text. Encourage them to go do the basic thing of just like reach out and get that help. It can be that text to somebody that changes the trajectory of like where they're going and what they're doing. Because you never know where someone is in their journey or their story, and then being able to figure that out by, just dropping that little nugget, that little ripple in the pond, right? Yeah. And then it kind of spreads all the way out. So that's what I would tell people to do.
That's great advice.
Nice.
Thank you, Marissa, for having an awesome cousin to come bring them.
You're welcome.
Not only does she real life, but she also brings sound sage wisdom and advice.
I do everything that I can.
Thank you so much for being on here. We really appreciate it. And thank you for all the information. And I think, if you're someone out there who's listening and you're going through this, hopefully this podcast episode gives you that little push and that little courage to seek help and understand that it is okay. There's nothing wrong with you. We all have trauma, like Marissa says. We all have childhood trauma, like Marissa says.
Preach.
So it's okay for us. I don't know if it's a culturally thing where we're not allowed to just ever talk about our feelings or, what we're going through. But hope this episode brought some light to you guys. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you guys Friday.